We are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the 2021 NFL Draft, and the mock drafts are hitting the internet fast and furious. Paul Dottino, John Schmelk with you. And folks, remember, this is when these NFL teams are starting to create their boards. So the mock drafts now, they might have some more information behind them than they had earlier in the process. So, Paul, let's start with the godfather of this industry, the man that began it all, Mel Kiper over at ESPN, and he is the Giants selecting somebody that we've talked about a lot on these mock draft reports, Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. He has him selecting them both over Patrick Surtain and Rashawn Slater.
Well, Kiper must believe that the Giants think the best player on their board at that point will be Waddle, and they will continue to go with the best player available theory. Because if you want to weigh in need as part of that equation, you could make a very strong argument for taking either Surtain or Slater. But if you're simply going with a guy who may have a significantly higher grade than the others, I do think it's possible that Waddle could be that guy.
All right, let's go to round number 2. He has the Giants going with an edge defender, Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma. 16.5 sacks in 3 years. He had 5.5 sacks in 6 games in his final year as a junior. His pro day testing wasn't the best, but he has the ability to get to the quarterback off the edge.
John, he's a very productive player, certainly with his tackles for a loss, even more so than the sacks. To me, he's one of those tweeners, one of those undersized guys who's going to be a 3-4 guy in the pros. Now, he's going to have to prove that he can play standing up, I think, because he's not going to be able to put his hand down against NFL offensive tackles trying to get around that edge.
Well, on third down, maybe.
Maybe, but I'm not even so sure that that's going to work for him because I don't know that he's got the strength to do it. I think that's a little bit high, personally.
And he was not asked to cover much at Oklahoma.
Not at all.
He was just a pass rusher.
Not at all.
Something to keep in mind. All right, let's go over to our folks over at NFL.com. Charlie Casserly, his top 10, Paul, 4 quarterbacks, 3 playmakers, both offensive linemen. He is the Giants going with Kwity Paye.
The thing with Kwity Paye that still kind of bothers me some, and only the real scouts and the real personnel guys are going to be able to swallow this and digest it, that is Paye's numbers, his production doesn't necessarily match his projection. And if somebody can kind of, melt those numbers together and figure out exactly what he is, they'll feel a lot better about taking him.
Great athlete, ran a record-setting 3-cone drill earlier this year. He didn't do it at his pro day because of a hamstring injury. And that 3-cone drill, a lot of times predictive of success at that edge rusher position. But you're right, the production in college was not there. All right, let's go over to Maurice Jones-Drew, who always has one of the most interesting mock drafts out there. He has 5 quarterbacks in that first round, both offensive linemen. Only 2 of the playmakers, Pitts and Chase, along with Patrick Surtain. So he is the Giants taking Jalen Waddle as well over both Micah Parsons and Devontae Smith.
Well, again, you know how I feel. We've talked about it on BBKL for months now. I'm a Waddle guy over Smith, so that doesn't surprise me. We're talking about a guy who has much larger frame, another 10, 15 pounds more than Smith does when he plays. As far as going defense, look, we've talked about this with Parsons. The guy has all the skills, John, but you're going to have to use him correctly. If you use him incorrectly, you're wasting a lot of the value of the pick that high.
All right, then finally we have Dane Brugler, who's one of the best guys around. He works for The Athletic. His draft guide is out. He did a 7-round mock draft, so we don't have to go through all 7 picks here.
Okay.
But he predicted every single pick. He does this at the end of every draft season. It's quite a chore. So I'll just give you the first few, okay?
Go ahead.
First round goes Elijah Vera Tucker for the Giants at 11, going offensive line.
We've heard that before.
We have. Second round, Gregory Rousseau dropping all the way to 42. And by the way, Kyle Krabs also told me 2 weeks ago that might happen. So something to keep in mind, because his testing wasn't great, agility and explosion-wise at his pro day.
Another projection over production guy. He only had 1 year of production with the Hurricanes.
Right, and then I'll just give you the rest really quickly. Third round, Davion Nixon, the defensive tackle out of Iowa to replace Dalvin Tomlinson. Cornell Powell in round number 4, the wide receiver out of Clemson. Khalil Herbert, the running back. You want to have that guy that can complement Saquon Barkley. And then Monty Rice, the linebacker, going with that second 6th round pick. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmelk. We'll see you next time, everybody.